So, have you ever noticed how some people well, they just seem to get it. They
Yeah.
navigate life's complexities, with this almost uncanny ease. They consistently land on their feet.
While others kind of stumble through the same stuff.
Exactly. It feels like they're playing a completely different game, like
Yeah.
they've got a deeper, almost secret understanding of the rules.
It's a really powerful observation. And today we're actually diving deep into a source that offers a unique lens on exactly that. Robert Greene's The 33 Strategies of War.
Okay, now, before your mind jumps straight to, you know, ancient battlefields and marching legions,
Right.
let's be clear. This deep dive isn't really about literal combat. It's about pulling out the profound, timeless insights from this book.
Insights that apply to everything.
Yeah, every aspect of your life. Personal challenges, those battles inside your own head,
Yeah.
right through to professional negotiations, team dynamics, you name it.
So our mission today is basically to cut through the density of this material.
It can be pretty dense.
It can. And distill its most potent nuggets of knowledge. We want to reveal how these principles of strategic warfare can kind of become your shortcut
A shortcut to what, exactly?
to being more well-informed, more decisive, more effective, no matter what field you're in.
Okay, I'm expecting some surprises.
Oh, get ready for some surprising facts, definitely some aha moments, stuff that'll fundamentally change how you view conflict, how you view interaction.
All right, let's unpack this then. Greene's foundational premise.
Mm.
It's quite stark, isn't it? Life is endless battle and conflict.
It really is. He suggests our successes, our failures, they're not just about what we do, it's about how skillfully we handle these conflicts that just keep coming.
And he draws this contrast between strategic warriors
Right, his term.
who think ahead, master their emotions, act intentionally,
Yeah.
versus those who just react impulsively.
Or maybe worse, try to avoid conflict altogether, which never really works.
So where does he start? With external enemies.
Well, what's fascinating is he immediately pivots inward. He argues the very first arena of war. It's within yourself.
Within yourself.
Yeah. It's about cultivating this inner discipline, this ability to stay rational when your emotions are screaming at you to take over.
So before you can win any external battle,
It's got to win the war within first. That's foundational for Greene.
and part of that internal war involves this concept, the polarity strategy. Declare war on your enemies.
Right. And this isn't just about, the obvious adversaries you might have. No. Greene widens this idea of enemy. It includes anyone subtly working against you, even through things as passive as indifference and neglect.
Wow. Indifference is an enemy. That's a challenging thought.
It is. It's a call to arm yourself with prudence, basically, to never completely let your guard down, not even with friends, really.
So it forces you to really look at who or what is draining your energy or maybe wishing you ill, even indirectly.
Exactly. And knowing this, Greene suggests, can surprisingly give you purpose, direction.
Purpose from identifying enemies. How does that work?
Think of Salvador Dali, the artist. Greene uses him as an example. Dali, apparently, to feel confident, inspired. He continuously found enemies to vent on.
Really?
Yeah, people who embodied things he couldn't stand, like conformity or piety. He used that opposition, that friction, to fuel his own rebellious genius. It focused his energy.
Okay, so identify the opposition, internal or external, to find your focus. What's next in this internal battle?
Well, it connects directly to this idea. Do not fight the last war. He calls it the guerrilla war of the mind strategy.
Don't fight the last war, meaning don't get stuck in the past.
Precisely. Greene argues our biggest burden is often the past. Old victories that make us complacent, past defeats that haunt us, tired formulas that maybe worked once.
But don't apply now.
Right. He says you have to consciously wage war against your past self, force yourself to react to the present moment, make everything fluid and mobile.
Rigidity is the enemy here.
Absolutely. Rigidity, Greene emphasizes, will be your undoing. True genius, he says, lies in adapting to these inexhaustibly changing circumstances.
Napoleon comes to mind.
Perfect example.
Yeah.
Napoleon Bonaparte. His brilliance wasn't sticking to fixed principles. It was his supreme opportunism. His ability to just respond fluidly to whatever was happening on the battlefield.
And the like.
Unlike, say, the Prussian generals. Like Hohenlohe at Vierzehnheiligen, they rigidly stuck to these outdated parade ground formations.
And got destroyed.
Decimated by flexible French marksmen who were adapting.
And it's not just military history, right? I remember the samurai example.
Itachi, yeah. He never relied on his previous tactics. He always focused on the the gambit that would take this particular opponent most by surprise.
Like using a wooden oar instead of a sword.
Exactly. Against the haughty Ganri. He used the oar to infuriate him, throw him off balance. It wasn't about the last fight, it was about this fight. Pure adaptability.
So adaptability is key, which requires presence of mind.
Bingo. Cultivating presence of mind is crucial. Greene explains that your mind, rationally, is often weaker than your emotions, especially under pressure.
Oh, we've all felt that.
Oh, yeah. True strength, he says, comes from internal discipline, toughness. And that's acquired through, well, practice, experience, even a little suffering.
Okay, suffering. But how do you practice?
Yeah.
Especially against something like fear, which is probably the biggest internal battle for most people. How does Greene say we wage war on our own anxiety?
His insight is that fear really thrives on the unknown. So by deliberately facing it...
You mean putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation?
Yeah, exactly. You reduce its power, you reduce the anxiety, you gain confidence. Controlling your imagination is absolutely key here.
Because that's where fear builds its fortress.
Right. Think about General Patton, George S. Patton. Apparently, he was quite a sensitive young man, terrified of being seen as a coward.
Really? Patton?
Yeah. So what did he do? He deliberately exposed himself to, needless danger on the front lines, just to test himself. And Greene says this made it easier to face down his fears. He cultivated this unmatched presence of mind that, defined his career.
It's about not letting your imagination paralyze you. I'm thinking of that story Greene tells about the tea master.
Oh, the duel. Yes.
Yeah, terrified, facing a duel, consults a fencing master.
Who tells him, basically, calm your mind, focus on the tea ceremony. The ritual.
And he does. He appears so incredibly composed
that his opponent gets unnerved and just flees.
It's an amazing lesson in controlling the internal narrative, projecting calm through discipline.
And there's one more piece to this internal puzzle. Create a sense of urgency and desperation. The burning ships.
The Cortez strategy.
Exactly. Greene argues that to really unleash your utmost intensity, you sometimes have to eliminate the escape routes. Leave yourself only one option. Succeed or perish.
That creates a powerful connection to the present, he says.
It forces you into the now, because there's no later if you fail.
So it's not just about eliminating obvious options, but also identifying those subtle crutches we all have.
Right, the fallback plan, the comfortable habit.
The things that, ironically, might be holding us back from really going all in. That's a tough mirror to look into.
It really is. Greene asserts that any crutch, any safety net, maybe it's a wealthy relative, maybe a comfortable job you don't push beyond, can actually be a curse.
A curse? Why?
Because it divides your focus. It prevents that deep, necessary involvement. Think Cortez landing in Mexico.
He literally burned his ships.
He did. Put his men in this desperate situation. Retreat wasn't an option, so they had to fight with utter intensity, total unity, to conquer the Aztec Empire.
It makes success the only path forward. Like Dostoevsky.
The mock execution.
Yeah, subjected to that by Tsar Nicholas, gets a last-second pardon.
And experiences this profound rebirth. He felt his life was suddenly endless, like a whole eternity.
Which led him to write at this frantic pace, right?
Right.
As if each novel were his last.
Exactly. Urgency transformed into incredible productivity. The lack of an out focused him completely.
Okay, so we've covered a lot about mastering the inner game, the internal battles.
Which is foundational.
But what about when you're not fighting alone? How do these principles apply when you're leading a team or even just trying to influence a group?
Great question. That brings us neatly into part 2, leading and organizing for strategic advantage. And the first point is the leader as architect, shaping the organization.
The leader as architect.
Yeah. Greene points out your brilliant ideas, they're kind of meaningless if the group executing them is unresponsive or self-interested or just badly structured.
So it all starts at the top.
Everything starts from the top, he stresses. Your leadership style, how you structure things, that's critical for success.
And he warns against leaders who are, vague, half-hearted.
Exactly. Vague orders, allowing unsupervised work. Greene says people will just revert to selfishness. It's almost inevitable.
You can see this clearly in some of the examples, like that contrast between Lieutenant General Stopford at Suvla Bay.
Gallipoli, yeah, a disaster. He prioritized good order, consolidation, basically fiddling while the opportunity burned.
Compared to someone like General George Marshall.
Oh, completely different. Marshall literally transformed the U.S. Army.
Yeah.
How? By retiring older, maybe less adaptable officers.
And replacing them.
Replacing them with ambitious, younger protégés. people he had personally trained and mentored. He built an efficient machine because he understood the structure and the relationships were key. He reshaped the whole thing.
Which leads into the next strategy, right? Leveraging connections, protégés, and directed telescopes.
Perfectly. This strategy advises building an informal network. Loyal, energetic, intelligent people. He calls them directed telescopes.
Directed telescopes. Why that term?
Because they extend your vision throughout the organization. They provide instant information, bypassing those slow, cumbersome official channels.
Ah, okay. Like having eyes and ears everywhere.
Pretty much. This approach lets you metaphorically clone yourself. You can enact reforms, save time, and it makes you look like a good delegator, not some kind of manipulator pulling strings.
So Marshall did this with Eisenhower.
Absolutely. Marshall cultivated protégés like Ike, gave him guidance, encouragement, and Eisenhower then duplicated Marshall's effective staff structure when he took command.
Even Napoleon had something similar.
Yeah, a shadow brigade. Younger officers scattered across the military, they gathered crucial info that the normal chain of command just couldn't deliver fast enough. It's about efficient information flow.
Okay, so you've got the right people, the right information network. What about the structure itself?
That brings us to segment your forces, the controlled chaos strategy.
Yeah.
Speed, adaptability. Greene notes they come from flexible organization.
Meaning break things down.
Break your forces into smaller, independent groups. Groups that can operate and make decisions on their own.
Which would confuse the enemy, right?
Yeah.
It's like chaos.
Exactly. Seemingly chaotic patterns, but it's controlled chaos. Smaller, autonomous teams are just faster, often more creative, more motivated.
I love that patent quote Greene uses.
Oh yeah, which one?
Never tell people how to do things. Tell them what to do and they will surprise you with their ingenuity.
Yes, that's the essence of it. Unleash their ingenuity by giving them autonomy within a clear mission.
And Napoleon's core system did this.
Perfectly. His marshals got missions, but then were largely left alone to figure out how to accomplish them. This let his armies disperse, concentrate in these limitless patterns.
Making them seem chaotic and unreadable to the enemy.
Like the encirclement of Mac's forces at Ulm. It was swift, unpredictable, devastating. That flexibility was a weapon.
Okay, structure autonomy. What about the glue that holds it all together? Morale.
Crucial. Mastering morale. Unite, lead, reward, and punish. The core idea. Get people thinking less about themselves, more about the group. Unite them around a compelling cause. Lead from the front. Let them see you making sacrifices. And use rewards and punishments sparingly, but make them count. Rare but meaningful, as Greene puts it.
Because a motivated team can achieve amazing things.
Work wonders, Greene says. It can compensate for lack of resources, material deficits. Look at Cromwell's Ironsides.
The regiment.
Yeah. Forged from men of deep religious faith, that was the cause. He paid them promptly, led by example. Result. A highly devoted, disciplined force that consistently outperformed expectations.
And sometimes the influence has to be indirect, right? Like with Lombardy.
Exactly. Vince Lombardi and the Green Bay Packers, they had this losing mentality. He didn't lecture them about it. He just started assuming they were winners.
It changed the whole vibe.
Changed the spirit of practices, made them intense, focused. Success followed, and that success raised morale. It was an indirect shift in culture.
Same with Napoleon's rebukes being rare but devastating.
Right, and promotions always based on merit. It created this powerful loyalty, this constant desire to earn his favor. It's about shaping the whole group dynamic, the culture.
Okay, so we've handled the internal battles and the dynamics of leading a group. What about when you turn that strategic focus outwards into actual conflicts, negotiations, challenges in the world?
Right. That takes us to part 3. Proactive offensive strategies, where the rubber really meets the road, you could say.
And first up is, pick your battles carefully. The perfect economy strategy.
This sounds simple, but it's deep. Recognize your limitations. Don't overextend. Always consider the hidden costs.
Hidden costs like?
Time, goodwill, political capital, maybe even creating an enemy who's now bent on revenge down the line.
So the goal is to fight on your terms. Makes expensive for them, cheap for you.
Exactly. Economy of strength is the key phrase. And Greene has this interesting paradox. Knowing your limits can actually eventually expand your limits.
How so?
By forcing you to be smarter, more efficient. Think Queen Elizabeth I versus Spain. She skillfully avoided direct, costly war for years. Instead, she used proxies, disrupted their shipping secretly, damaged their economy, all while building up her own navy.
Playing the long game.
Totally. So when the Spanish Armada finally sailed, she didn't meet them head-on with brute force. She used smaller, more mobile English ships, fire ships.
To harass and disperse them.
Right, making sure that even if King Philip won somehow, the cost would be absolutely ruinous for Spain. That's perfect economy.
Okay, smart. Next strategy. The art of the counterattack. Reversing the threat.
This one's subtle. Instead of always being the aggressor, sometimes you let your enemy make the first move.
And then?
Then you kind of play the victim, frame their action as the aggression. This lets you control their minds, in a way, without overt manipulation. Often they end up blaming themselves for their own mistakes.
Because you provoke them into making the mistake.
Or you positioned yourself so their move backfired. The key insight is that an enemy's strength is often their biggest potential weakness. Why? Because they rely on it too much.
So you turn their strength against them.
Exactly, and turn your own perceived weaknesses into advantages. The classic example is the Themistocles and the Persian fleet.
That's Salamis.
Yes, huge Persian fleet, massive advantage in size. The Themistocles lures them into the narrow straits of Salamis.
Where their size becomes a liability.
A nightmare. They couldn't maneuver, their numbers worked against them. He turned their strength into the cause of their destruction.
It reminds me of those fables Greene uses too. The bat.
Oh, the bat and the house ferrets. Yeah. The bat saves itself twice by changing its identity based on the ferret's prejudice. First, I'm not a bird, then later, I'm not a mouse.
Using the enemy's own assumptions against them.
Totally. Or Piglet in the heffalump trap. He falls in, but convinces the much bigger heffalump that it fell into Piglet's trap.
And the heffalump apologizes and leaves.
It's psychological judo, like you said, using their momentum and assumptions against them.
Okay, counterpunching is one way. What about just backing off?
Ah, yes. Trade space for time, the non-engagement strategy. Retreating, when facing a stronger enemy, isn't weakness, according to Greene. It's actually a sign of strength.
How's retreating strength?
Because it buys you valuable time. Time to recover, rethink, gain perspective, and often it infuriates the aggressor. They get drawn deeper. They overextend.
So time becomes your ally, as he puts it.
Exactly. It allows you to build inner strength, gain clarity, which then translates into tremendous power later. Think Mao Zedong.
When he was sidelined.
Yeah, isolated by political rivals. He didn't fight it head on. He sort of accepted his house arrest, used that retreat time to reflect, plan, forge a whole new identity for the Communist Party.
And came back stronger.
Much stronger, while his enemies weakened themselves through infighting. Time was on his side because he used the retreat strategically.
Or Frederick the Great.
During the 7 Years' War, yeah.
Facing
overwhelming odds, Russia, Austria, France, he maneuvered defensively, bought time, avoided decisive battles he couldn't win.
And then got lucky.
Well, the Tsarina Elizabeth of Russia died unexpectedly. Her successor admired Frederick and pulled Russia out of the war, even allied with him. Frederick turned looming defeat into victory, partly by just staying in the game long enough for circumstances to change.
Buying time, which requires long-term thinking. That leads to grand strategy and foresight, the long game.
Yes. Grand strategists, Greene explains, think and plan far into the future. They look at the world with a cool, dispassionate eye.
And their moves might not make sense initially.
Often they don't. They craft these indirect, subtle steps. The purpose might only become clear much later. It involves seeing dangers as they start to sprout, not waiting until they're huge problems.
This kind of planning, he says, it fools the enemy.
Disorients them, yeah. But it also creates a sense of calm for the strategist, because they have a larger framework. Greene suggests many of our failures come from misguided goals or just a lack of this kind of prudent foresight.
He uses Alfred Hitchcock as an example.
A fascinating one. Hitchcock made planning a life principle. Controlled every detail in advance, storyboards, shots. Greene even mentions him pretending to film scenes requested by producers, but with an empty camera.
Just to maintain control of his ultimate vision.
Exactly. Total control through meticulous long-range planning.
Contrast that with, say, the British disaster in Afghanistan he mentions.
McNaughton, yeah. His expedition failed largely because he ignored clear warnings about the Afghan people, their pride, their independence, their embrace of strife and confrontation. He lacked that deep, realistic foresight.
It underscores how crucial reading people like a book is. For leaders like Hannibal, Caesar, Churchill, LBJ, it was a survival skill.
Absolutely critical. Which brings us to the art of manipulating what people see. Deception. manipulating perceptions for ambiguity.
Deception as a weapon.
A vital one, Greene argues. But not necessarily about elaborate illusions. It's more about subtly altering reality, combining fact and fiction to create ambiguity for your opponent. Maximize their confusion.
So the art is in managing appearances, controlling their vision of reality.
Precisely. The classic example is Operation Fortitude before D-Day.
The Ghost Army.
Yeah. The British totally fooled Hitler into thinking the main invasion was coming at Pas-de-Calais. They use a fake army, fake radio traffic, even put Patton in command of this phantom force,
Leading Hitler to reinforce the wrong place.
which was critical for the success of the actual Normandy landings. Brilliant deception based on playing to Hitler's expectations.
Or Anwar Sadat before the Yom Kippur War.
Another great example, Sadat exploited Israeli prejudices. He deliberately made his army look disorganized, plagued by internal squabbles.
Lulling the Israelis into complacency.
Totally. So when the attack came in 1973, they were caught almost totally by surprise. It was a masterful manipulation of perception.
And it's not always about total lies, right? Like that Colonel Boyd idea.
John Boyd's analysis, yeah. He suggested that during an advance, changing only some of the road signs, not all of them, would create more effective confusion and ambiguity for the enemy than changing all of them or none of them. It's about that blend of fact and fiction.
Okay, deception is one thing. What about just being weird? Unpredictable.
You're heading towards unconventional warfare, the shock of the unexpected. Greene argues that to gain ultimate power, you sometimes need to adapt a randomness that goes beyond rational calculation.
Strategic madness.
That's his term, strategic madness. It's terrifyingly unpredictable because the truly extraordinary unfolds out of the ordinary.
Conventionality is a trap.
A huge trap. Greene warns we have to fight psychological aging, break our own habits, practice unconventional warfare on your own mind first.
Like those Ojibwe warriors he describes. The Wendigoken.
Yes. With their rag costumes, mud-plastered bodies, scary masks, they dance erratically right into enemy formation.
Appearing possessed.
Exactly. Their actions seemed totally irrational, unpredictable. It shattered enemy morale. People actively avoided fighting them afterwards because they were just too weird and frightening.
It's like Marcel Duchamp and his ready-mates.
The urinal as art.
Right, a banal, ordinary object. But put it in an art gallery context.
And it becomes utterly unconventional. It stirred up angry, irritating, delirious ideas, Greene says. It shocked expectations and had this lasting impact precisely because it broke the conventional frame.
Okay, so unpredictability can be powerful.
Yeah.
What about appealing to values? To justice?
Now you're talking about moral warfare, weaponizing justice and reputation. This is about moving the fight onto the moral terrain.
Ow.
By making your cause appear more just than the enemy's. Speaking in clear black and white terms, using public displays of goodness or framing the enemy's actions as evil.
And Greene says moral warriors are hard to fight.
If you actually live up to your good name, yes. It gives you a powerful shield. Think Martin Luther.
Challenging the sale of indulgences.
Right. He publicly challenged the practice, questioned papal authority. This goaded Pope Leo X into these heavy-handed responses.
Which only made Luther look more righteous.
Exactly. It amplified Luther's moral standing, framed the Pope as tyrannical, and ultimately fueled the Reformation. Luther won the moral argument first.
And if you have to do something less than moral.
Greene suggests using a cat's paw, an agent, a proxy, someone else to do the nasty work, so you can hide your role and preserve your reputation.
Like Samuel Adams during the Revolution.
Perfect example. Adams deliberately exaggerated British actions, like the Stamp Act things Greene calls relatively trivial in the grand scheme.
But Adams turned them into outrages.
Manufactured outrage, turned them into wedges that made the British seem fundamentally evil and unjust, sparking the revolution. He controlled the moral narrative.
Okay, moral high ground is one thing. What about actual negotiations? Is that separate from warfare?
Not according to Greene. Strategy number. Let me check. Here. Negotiation as warfare. The art of compelling terms. He says, approach negotiations as just another strategic maneuver for power.
So if you're weak.
Use the talks to buy time. Stall, regroup if you're strong. Relentlessly advance. Take as much as you possibly can before and during the talk.
And then give concessions later.
Then offer meaningless concessions at the end just to appear generous or reasonable. Seal the deal on your terms.
Why is that so important? Why not be conciliatory earlier?
Because, as Greene notes, people are drawn into gambles by their emotions. They often ignore the bad signs. Appearing conciliatory when you actually have momentum can be a huge mistake.
Ah,
It gives your opponent hope, time to recover. It can lead to longer, bloodier conflicts than if you just push your advantage. Think Philip II of Macedon.
Alexander the Great's father.
Right. He masterfully used negotiations, treaties, purely to cover nefarious advances. He kept grabbing territory while talking peace, appearing reasonable. Then later, he'd just retake anything he'd temporarily conceded.
What about Metternich?
Prince Metternich of Austria. He was facing a stronger Russia under Tsar Alexander I. Metternich knew Alexander was emotional, idealistic.
So he played on that.
Exactly. He lured Alexander into this crusade against liberalism across Europe. It shifted Russia's strategic focus away from Austria's interests, all through clever negotiation and psychological insight.
Seems counterintuitive, but Greene also points to modern examples where conciliation backfired.
He does. He cites the U.S. military halting effective offensives for peace talks in Korea in '51 and later in Vietnam.
What was the result?
In both cases, he argues, it allowed the enemy forces to recover, regroup, rearm, leading to much longer wars, more bloodshed, real tragedy. The lesson is harsh. Don't stop hitting when you have the advantage, just because talks start.
Okay, so be relentless in negotiation if you're strong. What about just taking things?
The bold approach. The fait accompli. Seizing the moment.
Fait accompli, the accomplished fact.
Exactly. Take what you want. No discussion, no warning, just do it.
Yeah.
This forces your enemies into a difficult position.
They have to decide if fighting you is worth the cost.
Right. Is the cost and danger of going to war now worth more than what you just took? Greene says this plays on people's natural conservative instincts. Most people want to avoid confrontation. They prefer endless discussion to action.
So acting fast sets you apart.
Distinguishes you, earns a kind of grudging respect. You made it happen. Now they have to deal with the new reality you created.
Okay, that's bold. What about utterly crushing an opponent? Is there a strategy for that?
Oh, yes. Annihilation. The ultimate encirclement. This is about creating an envelopment, physical or psychological, that gives your opponents absolutely no escape, no hope.
Crushing their willpower.
That's the goal. It might involve a strategic mismatch, using totally new methods against their outdated ones, so they simply can't cope.
And Greene says this envelopment, it's almost inescapable.
He calls it the only true exception to the possibility of turning things around in conflict. Once you're truly enveloped, physically or psychologically, it's incredibly hard to break free. Think of the Zulu horns of the bull formation.
Perfected by King Shaka.
Right. Machine-like precision, encircling enemies completely, no gaps, no escape routes, a complete kind of victory.
And in business, Rockefeller.
John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil. They achieved a monopoly partly by enveloping competitors like Tidewater Pipeline. How? Building their own pipelines, buying up stock sneakily, starting price wars?
Leaving them no gaps to exploit.
Exactly. Suffocating them strategically. Or look at the Mongols.
Genghis Khan.
They achieved annihilation repeatedly by inventing this whole new brand of mobile warfare. It completely countered their enemy's static, centuries-old methods. Their opponent's defenses were just useless. It's about making escape or resistance futile.
Okay, annihilation is extreme. What about setting up an easier victory? Maneuvering them first.
Yes, that's maneuver them into weakness, the ripening for the sickle strategy. The idea is, before the main battle or confrontation, find ways to put your opponents in such weak positions that victory becomes easy, almost quick.
How do you do that? Baiting traps.
Bait them into traps, yeah. Lead them on wild goose chases, create dilemmas where all their available choices are bad ones.
Making them ripe for the picking.
Exactly. Greene has a great line. Confused, frustrated, and angry opponents are like ripe fruit on the bough. The slightest breeze will make them fall.
And this ties into that ODA loop idea.
Colonel John Boyd's ODA loop. Observe, orient, decide, act.
Yes. If you can cycle through that loop just slightly faster than your opponent, you can maneuver them constantly. Their actions become totally inappropriate because they're reacting to old information or a situation that no longer exists. You're always one step ahead.
Like FDR in the 1936 election.
Great political example. Roosevelt let his Republican opponent, Alf Landon, commit to this bland, centrist position. Meanwhile, right-wing Republicans were attacking FDR viciously.
Setting Landon up.
Perfectly. Then, right when Landon's poll numbers peaked, FDR drew this sharp, almost biblical contrast between his vision and the Republicans. It made Landon look weak and caught in the middle. An easy defeat after being maneuvered into that spot, or T.E. Lawrence in the desert.
Lawrence of Arabia, yeah. He constantly maneuvered the Turks into weakness, creating great loops in the vast spaces of the desert, spreading false rumors about where he was going.
Then hitting Aqaba from the landward side.
The completely unexpected direction. They were positioned to defend from the sea. He maneuvered them based on their expectations and then struck where they were weak. Classic ripening for the sickle.
Okay, one last strategy, and this one feels different. Strategic kindness.
It does seem different, doesn't it? Occupying the flank through generosity. Instead of direct confrontation, Greene suggests disarming opponents by taking their side, seemingly, supporting their causes, giving gifts, charming them. It's like occupying their flank, their psychological side, by removing their reason to fight you.
Because direct attacks create enemies.
Long-term enemies, often. Strategic kindness, used smartly, clears your path. It saves your energy for the fights you absolutely cannot avoid. Greene even says the flank is the path to power.
Julius Caesar used this.
Famously, dealing with Pompey's supporters after the Civil War. Instead of crushing them, he often showed strategic and cunning generosity. Pardons, positions, disarming them, turning potential enemies into allies, or at least neutralizing them.
Even Heracles tricked Atlas this way.
The myth, yeah.
Yeah.
Promises to hold the sky while Atlas gets the apples, then just takes the apples and leaves Atlas holding the bag or the sky. A mythological flank attack.
And the modern example of the family therapist.
Dr. Murray Bowen. He dealt with the emotional chaos, the anxiety waves in his own family, not by engaging directly, but by staying strangely detached.
Refusing to take sides or gossip.
Right. His calm objectivity became this magnetic force. It broke up the stale family dynamic as individual members were drawn to his non-anxious presence. He disarmed the conflict by refusing to participate in the usual way.
Wow. So kindness itself can be a strategic tool.
Absolutely. These are really powerful examples of using indirect means, often achieving objectives without a single overt shot fired.
So we've covered a huge amount of ground here, from ancient battlefields to modern boardrooms, even family dynamics.
Yeah, seeing how these principles of strategic warfare really do transcend their origins.
And these insights, they're not just about conflict in the negative sense, are they? They're about understanding human nature, anticipating outcomes.
And mastering yourself, mastering your interactions. It can be incredibly empowering when you start to see these patterns.
So this deep dive into these strategies,
Yeah.
the real aim is to give you, the listener, a new lens.
Exactly. A new lens to view your world, to help you identify opportunities, anticipate challenges, act with more foresight, more control, instead of just being swept along by circumstances.
Okay, so a final thought to leave people with. Greene suggests that true strategic mastery isn't just about these tactics. It's about fighting the psychological aging process.
Never losing your taste for the unorthodox.
Right. In a world that's constantly changing, maybe your most vital strategic weapon isn't some fixed plan.
But maybe it's that unwavering commitment to keep the wheels turning and churning the soil, as he puts it, so nothing settles, nothing clumps into the conventional.
So the question for you is, how will you declare war on your own stale habits? And what unswerving directive, what core principle will guide your actions through the inexhaustibly changing circumstances of your own life?
Something to really think about.